So as we know, the MCU Spider-Man 4 movie is very much happening. Again, not only do we know when it's going to be coming out, when the filming is going to be starting, but also we're starting to get a lot more leaks about the movie, including, potential cast announcements, some potential story leaks and updates, as well as maybe who the villain is going to be. So I thought, in today's video, we'll actually go over all of those leaks, all the updates, pretty much give you guys everything that we've learned about the MCU Spider-Man 4 movie in 2025, as well as give you guys my thoughts and opinions on who I potentially want to be, maybe even the villain of this movie. But again, before we do get into that, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like on this video to let me know you guys, of course, enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel for the latest gaming content, movie content, Spider-Man content, all of the above. And I guess without further ado, let's just get straight into it. We'll get into the first bit of information that we have heard, something that a lot of people probably already know by now, but Spider-Man 4 has been delayed by Sony to July 31st in 2026. This is obviously to make way for the Odyssey film by Christopher Nolan and basically give it 2 weeks now from that release, just so they don't have any box office interferes when they, of course, do make it. But again, what's really interesting with that is not only Tom Holland going to be in this one, but he's actually going to be in the Odyssey, which now comes out 2 weeks before Spider-Man 4. So I thought that was really interesting, and there is another little side note to go with this, but it is being said that with Tom Holland's pretty much hectic schedule going on right now, he can only actually film in some dates for Avengers Doomsday. So basically, rumor has it a lot of the Spider-Man scenes in Avengers Doomsday won't actually be Tom Holland at all, and it basically will be a stunt double, or again, another actor pretty much doing it all. Very similar to how Pedro Pascal voices the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian is actually played by John Wayne's grandson for the most part. So basically what is being said here is that Tom Holland, he'll film for a week or two for Avengers Doomsday, and he'll do all the, the scenes with his face in it, and then basically the other couple months we'll have him just doing the voice, and we'll have another actor playing Spider-Man. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see how that does go. It's also going to be interesting to me to see if they find a Peter Parker who is going to be Tom Holland's height. Are they going to find a Spider-Man who's going to be Tom Holland's height, which is like, I think, just 5'7". I think he is 169 centimeters or something like that. And why I bring this up is because for the most part, Spider-Man in, of course, the comics, basically as a high school student, is again that 5'7" height. But in some comics, he actually does grow when he gets out of high school to being about 5'10". I believe he's about that height in the games. But in the movies so far, again, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is 5'7". Tobey Maguire's is, I think, 5'8", and Andrew Garfield's was the only one who actually grew technically to the college height, which was about 5'10". So I am wondering, are they going to continue to keep Tom Holland's Spider-Man basically at that 5'7" height, which I would love, because personally I'm only 5'8". Are they going to have this, stunt double or actor who's going to play him behind the mask, who's going to be maybe 5'10", or how are they going to go about that? Again, I actually do think they'll hopefully keep him to Tom Holland's height, and I just think that makes sense. Why change it, right? Again, I might have been going on a little yap fest here, but it also was reported by Daniel RPK that the budget of the film will apparently be about $200 million, which is expected. It was also revealed, with all the villain news going around right now and rumors on it all, that Vincent D'Onofrio confirms that he and Charlie Cox's Daredevil won't return in Spider-Man 4. Of course, Vincent D'Onofrio plays Kingpin. So this is really, really interesting, because a ton of people were theorizing that the main villain of Spider-Man 4 was going to be Kingpin, and that it would have Daredevil in it as well, and it would be a very big street level turf war kind of film. And a lot of the ideas people were saying was Kingpin would actually become the mayor of New York City, and he would actually outlaw vigilantism basically making Spider-Man what he does illegal, and he would go and hire the Scorpion and some other villains to go and hunt down Spider-Man and, of course, bring him in, the Kingpin. We know now, though, that doesn't look like it's happening. Kingpin's not going to be in it unless he's just saying that, he doesn't want to spoil it. But again, I think he's actually confirming that himself as Kingpin and Charlie Cox as Daredevil are not going to be in the movie. And this is going to be taking a completely different direction from what fans think. And there's, of course, more evidence to back this up, with another massive report saying that the Marvel Studios has reportedly offered a major actor the lead villain role in Spider-Man 4, and that's being reported by Daniel RPK. So, yeah, not only does this confirm that Kingpin will not be the main villain, he basically will not be in the film at all, but also I think confirms that Null will not be the main villain, which I've talked about on the channel, and there were rumors that that was going to happen because Null has been cast, to be Andy Serkis. So essentially, yeah, that Sony universe looks like it's absolutely dead in the water. Marvel want nothing to do with it, and the reports that Tom Hardy won't be coming back as Venom is actually true. So yeah, I guess we may never see Tom Hardy as Venom. We probably will never see Andy Serkis as Null again. This means that we're getting a completely new villain that no one really expected. I'd say probably like 40% of the fans thought it was going to be Kingpin. 20% probably thought it was going to be Null. The other 40% probably were thinking other people. And I guess those other villains were correct because we are genuinely going to be getting someone else. I think this also confirms it's not Scorpion, because Scorpion, aka Matt Gargan, has also been cast in the MCU. So I think we're getting a completely new villain here that we haven't seen in live action before, and of course in the Spider-Man movie. So there's definitely some options on who they can go with. The guy I would personally love to see, and I don't know if I want him in Spider-Man 4. I'd probably rather him in like 5 or 6, just based on the fact that I'd rather this villain not be in a multiversal setting and more in like a straight level, more of a basic Spider-Man film that's not fully interconnected with the Avengers movies like this one apparently might be. And that does happen to be Mr. Negative, Martin Lee. I think Martin Lee would be the perfect villain for Spider-Man, a future movie, maybe Spider-Man 4, I guess, I don't know. Just based off the fact that Martin Lee, as we know, had connections with Aunt May. His company, the owned Feast, is where Aunt May works in Spider-Man No Way Home. And typically, Mr. Negative, especially in his most popular appearance in the Marvel Spider-Man game, typically is Aunt May's boss. So the fact that Aunt May is dead now in this new one, maybe Peter decides to volunteer at Feast in her place and gets really, really close to Martin Lee, just to find out later on as Spider-Man that he is the very villainous Mr. Negative. Again, I think that would be an absolutely perfect storyline that they could possibly go with. But again, with the multiversal setting we're in, it might not be perfect just yet. So I really don't know who they're going to go with. I've also heard rumors and reports out there as well that this, even though this is a little bit unrelated, this is not to do with the main villain, but I've heard some people say that they would absolutely love for Coleman Domingo to be cast as Norman Osborn. And basically Coleman actually plays Norman Osborn in the new recent Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show, which looks absolutely great and fantastic.
Say that again?
And the season 1 was perfect. And a lot of people are saying that, wouldn't it be awesome if he actually played a live action Norman Osborn? He actually said in real life that he actually does want to play a live action Norman Osborn. So even though normally I'm typically against race swaps, I don't really like when movies recast a black actor with a white actor, and more commonly these days a white character with a black actor. I do actually think that this would be really, really good, just based off the fact that everyone already knows that Willem Dafoe is Norman Osborn and Green Goblin, and it's so iconic with him. Again, he was in the original Spider-Man trilogy, I think all 3 of those movies, of course. He was in Spider-Man No Way Home. There's even rumors he's going to appear in the animated projects later on, potentially in that Spider-Man animated villains movie that's reportedly in the works. Again, I think this would actually be really interesting to give us a new Green Goblin with this perfect, terrific Oscar-nominated actor who actually, because he's black, that actually differentiates him from the Norman Osborn we know and actually makes it a lot different than instead they just got a white actor to play him. Everyone would just be like, well, they could have just gone Willem Dafoe again, this and that, right? You get a black actor to play him, it really differentiates this Norman Osborn from, of course, Willem Hurts, the fuck? From William Dafoe's Green Goblin. And it really differentiates it and makes people really know that, yeah, this is a completely different one. And I just think it honestly would make sense. So even though he won't be the main villain, I wouldn't think of Spider-Man 4, at least I think so. I would actually really like to see him cast as the live action potential Norman Osborn, maybe in the future Spider-Man movies. So again, I think that would be really, really interesting. And after all, he already is an MCU Norman Osborn at this time being, with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man being in the MCU, just an alternative universe. So it has never been more hard and tricky to kind of guess who is going to be the main villain of the new MCU Spider-Man 4 movie. Again, a lot of people have had their predictions online. A lot of people have predicted Kingpin would be the main villain, but of course, as we know, Vincent D'Onofrio, the guy who plays Kingpin, confirmed he's not going to be in Spider-Man 4, so that kind of put to bed that rumor. A couple other potential rumors have been put to bed as well, with it being said that this is going to be a brand new character and the role has been offered to a big name actor. So it's really confusing. It's really, really difficult to know, well, who's going to be the main villain of this new Spider-Man 4 movie. So I thought, you know what? I've got some free time, so I kind of want to predict who I think it might be, while also giving my thoughts and opinions on who I want to be. So I've actually got a list of 5 characters here who I think could very well be, you know, a villain in the movie, a potential main villain, whatever it might be. With the 5th character, I think could be the villain of the movie, but also could end up teaming up with Spider-Man later on. And again, I think it's the least likely out of everyone I'm going to talk about, but I still think Tom Hardy's Venom is a slight chance to maybe be in it. Again, there's been rumors for ages he might start off as the villain and end up transitioning, you know, into like the anti-hero, has to team up with Spider-Man in this story. Again, we know that symbiotes are supposed to play a role somewhat in this type of story, whether it's small or big. Again, this may also go against that rumor that a big name actor has been offered the role, but I think that this, if they do go for Tom Hardy's Venom, it doesn't really mean that he's going to be the main villain. He could just be the villain at the start and then, as I said, transition into a different type of role in the movie. The only issue is, and why I think that this probably isn't going to happen, and another reason I wanted to talk about him, is that we know that this Sony Spider-Man universe is completely dead. And from all reports, Marvel have really tried to distance themselves from this really crappy Sony Spider-Man universe that they had going on. And there have also been rumors that Marvel just don't want to include any of these characters in their movie. So with that all being said, and Tom Hardy saying he probably won't be playing Venom again, I do think that that era of movies is completely done. And I just can't see this happening. But I put him on the list just to talk about it, because I think there is still maybe like a 1% chance this happens. And really, that 1% chance is still more likely than some of the other villains that I thought about talking about. So, again, moving on from him now, we have number 4. And I think that could be Scorpion. Again, this might not necessarily be as the main villain, but he may be a villain in this film. Again, I would think he's probably more suited for Spider-Man 5, which will probably have Kingpin in it, and have Kingpin maybe hiring him to go down and, you know, hunt down Spider-Man. But there is still a chance, with the Scorpion being teased at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, coming through the multiverse, that maybe a different Scorpion from a different universe, of course, does come into it. Again, as I said, it's very big chance, especially when you think of, there's no guarantee even that the actor who played Mac Gargan at the end of Homecoming would even want to come back. After all, it's been like 8 to 9 years, I think, by the time this movie comes out, since he's cameoed as Scorpion. He probably doesn't even want to come back, and he might be doing other shit with his career right now. And having a different Scorpion tease at the end of No Way Home, you know, coming through the multiverse in Doctor Strange's spell, could mean that if this movie is a little bit multiverse themed, we could of course be getting a Scorpion in this film, maybe a different variant from a different universe. Something like that could happen, and that's been, of course, very much teased. Again, another villain I think could 100% be in this, movie, and this is where we're starting to get to the more likely, characters now, especially with how the rumors and leaks are going, and that does happen to be Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, who we know that Spider-Man is going to be getting a new love interest, it's reported, in this film, and I just don't see who you can really, pick other than her, because if this is all being said that Peter Parker doesn't want to be Peter Parker anymore and he wants to live that Spider-Man life, kind of the opposite of Spider-Man 2, then there's no better love interest than to introduce the chick who only loves Spider-Man and doesn't care about Peter Parker, and that's what Black Cat is. Again, with rumors and reports that Madeline Klein is being cast in a mysterious role, it does make a lot of sense that it could be Black Cat, and god damn, that would make me freaking dribble out of my mouth. If I saw Madeline Klein as Black Cat, holy shit, I might genuinely explode. And she could legitimately be the big name actor who has been cast as a villain. Again, I wouldn't even be surprised. She's a massive known actor right now, and if one of the main villains of this movie has been cast, who says it couldn't be her? And Black Cat is more of an anti-hero, but we know she's stuffed Spider-Man up countless times and in countless different ways. She might do an ultimate betrayal in this film, and I mean, yeah, holy crap, I'd freaking let Madeline Klein betray me, I'll tell you that right now. Again, at number 2 is a lot more far-fetched, and although I think Black Cat is probably the most likely out of every character I've talked about so far being in this movie, I think that there is a slight chance here that this legitimately does happen. With a bunch of leaks and reports that it could be happening, I just felt like I had to talk about it, and that actually does happen to be Norman Osborn. Now, for those of you who are like, what are you talking about? We just saw Norman Osborn in No Way Home as like the main villain. Tom Holland's Peter Parker basically cured him, and we know that should be basically the end of that, right? But we got to think about it. With all the reports that this movie is going to be a massive multiversal film again, I think Marvel are really going to go very in-depth in that. And as I said, if this is multiversal, you're damn well we're going to see a new Norman Osborn. Whether that's him as Green Goblin or it's just Norman Osborn, we'll have to wait and see. And with Coleman Domingo recently playing Norman Osborn in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and actually commenting on the fact that he would love to play a live-action Spider-Man, live-action Green Goblin, I should say, and him getting a lot of positive feedback to that, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel introduced a Norman Osborn from a different universe who Peter has to, really battle with trusting, because on paper it seems like this Norman Osborn is a good guy, but in reality we know what the Norman Osborn did to his Aunt May. How can he trust him? All of these type of situations. Again, Coleman Domingo, who's done a fantastic job in the cartoon, has been one of the first race swaps I've seen that has actually been a positive reaction by the people in the media and, fans, of course. I think if they wanted to introduce a different multiversal Norman Osborn to really mess with Peter Parker's feelings, it would be a very smart idea, and to have him look and sound very different to Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn, really differentiating the two. Again, I could see it really happening, and Coleman Domingo would be the perfect choice of that. After all, he is an Oscar-nominated actor who's massive in the world right now, and with him already commenting on it and talking about it, he could be as well the big-name actor that has been, of course, named as that mysterious villain. So, again, I think it'd be really awesome to see a Norman Osborn who is a really good guy but we know he'll probably become bad later on. But it's really messing with Peter's feelings because he knows what Norman Osborn's are capable of. Come into the film again, it'd be a very interesting idea, and I could see them doing it. After all, Norman Osborn is Peter's biggest villain. Again, at number 1, who I want to say is the villain of a Spider-Man movie eventually. I don't know if it will be number 4 or number 5, but that does actually happen to be Mr. Negative. Again, Mr. Negative is probably my all-time favorite Spider-Man villain. I loved him as pretty much the main villain of the first Marvel Spider-Man game. He is absolutely insane, and we know he can cause Spider-Man a ton of problems. After all, he's a legitimate freaking terrorist, and at the start, he seems to be a very good guy to Spider-Man. Again, Peter's aunt, of course, worked for Martin Lee at Feast, and we know Peter's Aunt May works at Feast in the 3rd movie. It'd be really interesting that in this 4th movie, Peter goes to volunteer at Feast, or maybe get a job there doing what his Aunt May did. And of course, he meets, Martin Lee, and he's a very good guy, takes Peter and is like, he's mentoring Peter, just throughout life. But then, of course, he becomes the villainous Mr. Negative. Again, that would be absolutely insane, and I would legitimately love to see that in this movie. But again, with the film going apparently very multiversal, I wouldn't be surprised if they go down the other directions of maybe having, like some symbiotes in it. Of course, maybe having Coleman Domingo as Norman Osborn, doing little things like that that would get a fan reaction. Again, that's really what they're making these movies for at this time, man. Look at No Way Home. It's literally a fan service film, and I wouldn't be surprised if Spider-Man 4 even lent that way. We are finally getting some MCU Spider-Man leaks, and I'm saying finally because I think we get about every Marvel movie leaked 100 million different times, but the one movie and a couple of projects that I'm really trying to get myself even more excited for, it's just kind of been radio silent as of late until now, where we've got a couple different massive things to do with Spider-Man. One of which I'll just cover lightly because I think every YouTuber and their dad has talked about it. But as we know, Sadie Sink has reportedly been cast in Marvel Spider-Man 4. The Stranger Things star Sadie Sink has officially been cast. It is rumored that she'll be playing Peter Parker's new love interest. Again, there's been other rumors as well that she could be playing Jean Grey from the X-Men, which doesn't really make any sense. I don't believe him, Spider-Man and her have absolutely anything to do with each other in like the comics at all. And as we know, with Sony and how they make their movies, they do want a big name Marvel actor in, of course, all of these Sony Spider-Man movies. But I don't think they're going to be wanting a character that's freshly introduced. I think they're going to be wanting a character very similar to the scale of Robert Downey Jr. as, Tony Stark in, Spider-Man, of course, Homecoming, as well as Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange in Spider-Man No Way Home. So who that is going to be, I'm not too sure. The only thing is, I don't think this is going to be, Jean Grey. I don't think Sadie Sink is going to be playing her at all. Again, a lot of people have also been saying it will be, Mary Jane Watson and a new version of her, possibly from the multiverse now. But it's also like, considering Tom Holland's dating Zendaya and she's supposed to have a little role in the film, I just don't know how they would be potentially cool with a new MJ coming into the fold, especially considering Tom Holland's supposed to have more of an impact on this movie in the development room. I don't think he's going to be completely cool with that either. So there are other opportunities. Again, Gwen Stacy, potentially, especially considering Sony have a big, knack of hiring these redheads, white, pale redheads to play Gwen Stacy, who is bleach blonde. So maybe it's her. And then there have been other people saying that she will potentially be Black Cat, which I would be so against. I don't think you should hire someone like Sadie Sink at all. She does not have the look to play Black Cat. That would be a terrible decision. Imagine seeing someone like freaking Madeline Klein, Sydney Sweeney, Anya Taylor-Joy out there, and you would pick Sadie Sink to play Black Cat. Again, no, that is a terrible choice. I don't want to see it, and I think she will probably be, most likely at this point, a new Gwen Stacy, because I just don't know how Tom Holland and Zendaya would go with a new MJ coming into the fold. That just doesn't make too much sense to me at all. But there, of course, has been another rumor going around by a ton of different sites and news outlets that I want to talk about as well, with it saying that rumor, apparently a source close to the production of Fantastic Four First Steps has confirmed that Tom Holland's Spider-Man will appear for a few seconds in the movie. This is thanks to the family arriving at UCM and causing quite a stir. Spider-Man, knowing the multiverse, will try to help them. This scene could be just like when Nick Fury receives Captain America in the first Avenger. Again, this could actually be really smart, and why I think this could possibly be happening is just based off the fact that, as we know, a part of Tom Holland's contract, he has signed up for 3 Spider-Man movies, 2 Avengers movies, and a secret Marvel movie that we don't, of course, know about. And considering that Tom Holland reportedly has been filming some stuff over the last couple of years that we don't actually know what some of it is, I think that one of those scenes could be him discovering the Fantastic Four, maybe arriving in, of course, the MCU's New York, and just saying to them, look, you guys are you're in a different universe here, this is where you are, and I don't know, we could get a nice, cool, funny scene with Johnny Storm and Spider-Man again. That would be really awesome, considering they have a pretty good play-on-play with each other in the comics. Again, this would really just set up the, future Avengers movie so well. Like, imagine just the Fantastic Four, their planet gets destroyed, and they, of course, have to go to a different universe. They go to the MCU, and they see Spider-Man. They basically have to warn Spider-Man now of what is coming. Of course, the villains that they faced in their movie, obviously Galactus, the literal world eater, they'll be like, shit, he's coming. They'll be like, Doctor Doom, he's coming as well. And then I'm guessing Spider-Man will just be like, holy crap, man. I don't know how he's gonna react, but essentially, yeah, you'll definitely see it. I think that scene, I think that could quite possibly happen, and that would really connect to the Avengers movies of basically Pedro Pascal and the Fantastic Four just being really defeated, looking for a new home, and basically saying, look, Doctor Doom, Galactus, they're all coming, you guys got to prepare. And this could be very similar to the scene where Mark Ruffalo's Hulk gets sent down in Avengers Infinity War, and he, of course, tells Tony and Doctor Strange, and he's like, look, Thanos is coming, you guys have to prepare for him, we're literally all going to die. And I think that's what's going to be the scene that really does set up the Avengers movies. Again, I don't know if there will be anything more to that. I think it will just be a 1 to 2 minute scene at the end of the film where they're like, they see Spider-Man, they kind of tell what happens. Maybe it finishes there, maybe it doesn't. Maybe Nick Fury comes into it and, Spider-Man just tries to help them, set them up on their feet. I think that would be it, and then it would be left to the end credits scene of, well, I'm guessing Doctor Doom, Robert Downey Jr., I'm guessing he'll be like that one Thanos end credits scene where he puts on the glove and he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. I'm guessing that's what we are possibly going to be seeing here. But yeah, again, I think that's what the secret film will be that Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be appearing in. Again, I know some people have theorized it would be a Spider-Man and Deadpool movie, especially considering Sean Levy actually did talk about that that's one of the future films he wanted to make. Again, I don't think that will be a part of the contract. I think we will see this Fantastic Four film, Spider-Man 4, Avengers, Doomsday and Secret Wars, and then we'll hopefully get to see Spider-Man 5 and 6 after that. And that could be the end of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Again, I'm sure Marvel will probably offer up another contract after that to do future Avengers movies, maybe be in a live-action Miles Morales film, which we know could be happening in the very big future. But again, as Tom Holland said, I believe he plans to retire at like 35 years old. And he basically said, you won't be seeing me again, probably until Sony offers some big ass multiversal paycheck that makes him come in the movie for like 2 minutes. Again, I don't think we'll be seeing him probably until that, and that will probably be when he's like 50. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to be doing, but this could legit be the secret movie that Spider-Man is of course in, and it would make a ton of sense because after all, he is like the main hero of New York, and most of the Avengers have moved upstate now. So this would genuinely just make a whole lot of sense. But again, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. What do you guys think about, Sadie Sink joining Spider-Man 4 and Tom Holland now potentially appearing in Fantastic Four First Steps? Again, I'd very much like to know your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to my sports channel and my IRL/long channel, which will be linked down below. Subscribe to this channel, obviously, if you haven't already, for all the latest gaming and movie content. And I guess I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.